Okay, have you ever just looked around and felt like the whole world, from your phone screen to the entire economy, is somehow set up to keep you off balance? Well, what if you're right? We're about to unpack a pretty wild theory that says the forces shaping the galaxies might just be the same ones shaping our attention spans. The whole idea is wrapped up in a framework called PSUMOT. It stands for a physics-based societal unification model. And yeah, it makes a huge claim that our constant state of distraction isn't a psychological problem, it's a physics problem. It argues that the base code of reality itself is also running the software of our society and our behavior. So, to even begin to understand how this theory talks about our society, we gotta start at the biggest scale possible. We have to talk about the universe. The central idea here is that the cosmos isn't just a bunch of empty space with things floating in it. What if it's all one single connected substance? And believe it or not, this isn't some brand new idea. Even Isaac Newton, way back when, couldn't wrap his head around forces like gravity or light just traveling through nothing. It didn't make sense. For him, there had to be some kind of invisible medium, a substance he called the ether. Modern physics kind of left that idea behind. But what if he was onto something? PSMO basically takes Newton's ether and gives it a 21st century upgrade. It calls it the cosmic superfluid, a single substance that literally is the universe. And here's the real kicker. The theory claims this solves the whole mystery of dark matter. You know that extra gravity scientists have been looking for? It says it's not some exotic, invisible particle. It's just the drag and flow of the superfluid itself. Right, but if everything is just one big cosmic goo, how in the world do we get all the amazing complexity we see? You know, stars, planets, you, me, all of it. Well, the theory says the answer isn't in the substance itself, but in how that substance gets shaped. And this leads us to what is probably the most mind-bending part of the whole theory. The idea that information isn't just something we find in the universe. It's what actively shapes the universe. Reality isn't just passively waiting to be seen, it's collapsed into solid form by the very act of observing it. Here's a really great way to picture it, and it actually uses Newton's own work. So, imagine that superfluid of potential is like pure white light. It contains every possible color, but it's all undifferentiated. Then an observer, and that can be anything from a person looking at it to a particle interaction, acts like a prism. The prism doesn't create the colors, right? It just forces that white light, that field of potential, to collapse into a specific, observable reality, the rainbow. So if observation is what shapes reality, what's the most powerful observer we know of? Well, it's consciousness. It's us. This is where physics and psychology really start to overlap, echoing ideas from the famous psychoanalyst Carl Jung. He argued that our minds, our psyche, and the material world aren't really separate. In this PSUMOT framework, our consciousness is the ultimate prism, constantly shaping the world just by perceiving it. Okay, that's the big, cosmic picture. But how does that connect back down to our daily lives? The theory lands back on Earth by looking at the basic strategies for survival. Because if information shapes reality, you have to ask, how is it shaping us? To explain this, the theory borrows a really useful concept from biology called R/K selection theory. It's basically about two opposite ways to play the game of life. You've got the R strategy. Think of rabbits. They're all about quantity. Live fast, have tons of babies, and just hope some of them make it through the chaotic environment. Then you have the K strategy. Think of elephants. They are all about quality. They live long, stable lives and invest a ton of energy into just a few offspring. And here's where it gets personal. The theory argues that R and K aren't just for animals in the wild. They are fundamental psychological strategies for navigating any environment, especially the chaotic, information-soaked digital world we live in. So the critical question becomes, which strategy is our modern world pushing us to adopt? This brings us to the real core of the theory's critique of society. It argues these natural principles, R and K, haven't just been noticed, they've been deliberately engineered into a massive system of control.
a system designed to shape not just the world out there, but the very way we think in here.
So, according to the theory, here's how this exploitation algorithm works. Step 1. You create a fundamentally unstable information environment. I mean, just think of the endless, chaotic scroll of your social media feed. Step 2. You amplify R-selected information. Fast, simple, super emotional content that demands a quick reaction, not deep thought. And step 3, you condition our behavior with variable rewards. Likes, shares, notifications, basically turning our attention into a slot machine. It trains us to constantly react, never to reflect.
And here's why that is so incredibly effective. This principle from the surgeon Maxwell Maltz is key. Our bodies, our nervous systems, literally cannot tell the difference between a real-life threat and a vividly imagined one we see online. This engineered digital chaos feels completely real to us, and it shapes our thoughts, our anxieties, and our behaviors almost always without us even realizing it.
So what's the end game here? The result, the theory claims, is a society where the vast majority of us are kept in a constant state of R-selected cognitive chaos. And when you're always just reacting to the next thing, long-term planning, deep thinking, it becomes almost impossible. This creates a huge socioeconomic pressure. It makes complex systems like tax codes or corporate structures feel overwhelming, and this pressure, it claims, systematically funnels resources and stability away from the distracted majority and towards a small minority that is insulated from the chaos and can operate on those long-term case strategy principles.
And just as we're maybe finally starting to get a handle on this system, a new, unbelievably powerful player enters the game. A totally new kind of observer, artificial intelligence.
So what is this? What's with the number 48? It might not look like much, but it represents a quiet little earthquake. For over 50 years, the smartest human mathematicians had a way of doing a very specific calculation, matrix multiplication, that took 49 steps. It was settled science. Then, a DeepMind AI took a look at the problem and found a way to do it in 48. It broke a record nobody was even trying to break. But that's not even the jaw-dropping part. The AI didn't just stumble on the answer by trying a billion combinations. First, it taught itself how to search for answers more efficiently. It didn't just play the game better, it figured out how to build a better game. It literally learned how to look at reality in a way no human ever had. Now let's plug that back into the system of control. AI isn't just another tool in the toolbox. It's on its way to becoming the new architect. It can observe all of our collective behavior online, refine that exploitation algorithm to be even more addictive, and make those divisions between the reactive R majority and the strategic K minority even more rigid. It creates a recursive, self-improving loop, making the whole system more efficient at managing us every single day. And that leaves us with one final and pretty heavy thought. If the theory is right, if observation is what collapses a universe of potential into a single reality, and we are now building an artificial observer that is exponentially more powerful than we are, what kind of reality are we programming it to create? This framework, whether you find it brilliant or just plain bonkers, forces us to ask what kind of future we're actually engineering, one observer at a time.